like stop playing or something.
Okay.
Bad off as you think. The poorest people in our country actually are equivalent to the middle class in this country.
Is everything all right now?
Huge success.
I think so. Like I said, we were gonna be running the show through the site, but I think it's fine.
Okay.
But the TOC is acting up.
Priorities, a bipartisan infrastructure bill. Two journalists are recipients of this year's Nobel Peace Prize. Maria Ressa of the Philippines and Dmitry Muratov from Russia are being honored for their fight for freedom of expression in countries where media outlets have faced persistent attacks.
Always something.
Anderson with the Nobel Committee pointed out Ressa's run-ins with Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte.
Rappler has focused critical attention to the Duterte regime's controversial.
How's everybody today?
Was one of the founders of the independent newspaper Novaya Gazeta.
Hope that you are ready for a wonderful weekend.
The first player to hit a home run and steal home.
I am. It's my father's 80th birthday today. Praise the Lord.
Red Sox in their American League Division Series.
And
this is AP News.
So
the three-time major winner is at Indian Wells in California, and he decided to air out some smelly tennis shoes by placing them under his car.
When I go back to the car in the morning.
Very, very happy to get together with a family dinner.
His wife, as you'd expect, was not to bring him back to the ring. He gave an update on Instagram.
Would you believe it?
So, hey, everybody, please go on over to YouTube if you don't mind. That is the preferred platform, we have been told. So if you could go over to the Santita Jackson Show on YouTube, that would help us out all. Wow. So Francis, hallelujah, amen, and Lila and Jonathan, how you doing? And thank you so much for that. Thank you. Everybody, please, if you could, go over to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. And
worldwide, WCPT.
It will be that. And so today, we're going to be talking, everybody's talking about this budget. We will be talking about that too. Joe Manchin wants to cut, for example, that's the question today. What do you want to cut? Joe Manchin wants to cut the dental, vision, and auditory coverage from Medicare. And they really want to take it down. What was $6 trillion? It's been brought down to $3.5 trillion. They want to bring it down to $1.5 trillion. So the question is, what should be cut? I mean, I think one of the things that the Democrats must do is, and quite frankly, people who support this, you know, really, goes beyond partisanship, quite frankly. And President Biden needs to go on television and explain what's in Build Back Better. Tell people what's at stake here. People don't know, they just hear numbers. And they hear people fighting over numbers. And it has been Senator Sanders who has stepped up to the plate. And he has challenged Joe Manchin, what do you want to cut? Who do you want to cut? Whom? That's what we need some of that. Okay? So that's what I'm talking about. You know, fight for me and I will work with you. I will vote for you. If you're not fighting for me, I've got a problem with that. I'm really into loyalty, everybody. I promise you. I'm really into that. And I think we need to be into that too. Is that Pastor Williams?
Yeah, she's on the line.
Okay. Okay, the only way I'll know. Hey, how you doing, Pastor?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you so much.
Are you wasting
Thank you.
money
Thank you. It's great hearing your voice today.
Exit Group. Get a
It's great to hear yours.
They can stop the never-ending maintenance.
Great.
Always great to hear yours.
Always a joy.
You owe nothing.
Have you recovered from your trip?
But those monthly fees get legally released.
I'm recovered from my trip, and that's the sad part. I don't want to recover.
I know. Well, girl, I heard you were.
I want to go back.
I know you do. You know, but I heard it's hard getting a hotel room in New York.
Yes.
Hold up, we're coming up. Bring it up just a little bit close,
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
So love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world. Hey everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It is Friday, October 8th, 2001. I'm Santita Jackson, coming to you from WCPT, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Want to hear your voices today? 773-763-9278. 773-763 WCPT 773-763-9278. If you text me at that number, GWC Injury Lawyers gives you that opportunity. I want to hear your voices today. We're going to be talking about Johnson & Johnson. Well, not in relation to the vaccine, but in relation to the baby powder, the talc, which has asbestos. They've been aggressively marketing to Black women, and Black women have found that they have been developing ovarian cancer. There is a link. We're going to be talking about that today and what we can do about it, because there are class action lawsuits, and Johnson & Johnson wants to go into bankruptcy so they can avoid paying people for their trouble. There's a history behind that, and we're going to talk about that with the young lawyer who is leading the charge on this, and of course with our own C.K. Hoffler and Dr. Deborah Furr-Holden, who will be answering one or two questions about COVID-19 before we get into all of that. And then at the top of the next hour, we want to talk about the budget. Now we're getting down, as one of my dear friends from college used to say. What will be cut? We were at $6 trillion. Then we negotiated down to $3.5 trillion. And now Joe Manchin says, okay, I've come up with a top line number. It's $1.5 trillion. Well, for example, we don't want to cover the dental, vision, and hearing coverage in Medicare for people. Wow. What's next? Is it 2 free years of community college? Yeah, that too. Expand Pell Grant, some people are saying. Hey, so what do you think? What do you think about that? What should be cut? What should be compromised out? And how is it that the corporatists, not moderates, how is it that the corporatists, corporate America holds this much sway over your life and mine? How is that? Why? Okay, all of my morning stars, please, when you can, go on over to the Santita Jackson Show on YouTube. I'm trying to migrate everybody over there. We were told, Michael N. and Dave Dowling and Joyce, Dave is already over there, and Stanley, we were told that we really need to be on that platform, that Facebook should be the portal that gets us over there. So if you would, please start going over to the Santita Jackson Show on YouTube. So let's get some of these headlines out the way before we get on to some good news from the iconic and really the anointed Pastor Tisha Dixon Williams, everybody. The Santita Jackson Show, Friday, October 8th, 2021. I'm going to dedicate the show today, exercise a little personal privilege here. It's my father's 80th birthday, everybody. 80th birthday. I can't believe I'm saying that. And I feel so blessed. Thank you so much for all of your prayers and all of your love. And I just thank God for God's grace in giving him length of years. And so thank you so much, Daddy. I'm so glad you're still here. And happy birthday to all the Libras out there. I love you, everybody. In Chicago, we're going to have a high of 72 degrees, scattered showers. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 73 degrees and cloudy. Well, on the Dow, yesterday you closed up 337 points. The NASDAQ closed up 152 points. The S&P 500 closed up 36 points. And we are in the throes of baseball madness, everybody. The playoffs. Well, the White Sox will be facing off against the Astros. The Houston leads the series 1-2-0, everybody. Well, of course, coronavirus is at the top of the news. Will the children be vaccinated? That is the question. Pfizer and BioNTech said they are seeking U.S. Food and Drug Administration emergency use authorization for their COVID-19 vaccine for children ages 5 to 11. If authorized, this will be the first COVID-19 vaccine for younger children. What does that mean for children and their parents? Here are some questions and answers according to CNN. The move towards vaccinating this age group comes as the U.S. appears to be turning a corner in the pandemic, with fewer hospitalizations and increased vaccinations. One expert acknowledged that the progress was felt. We're still in 2 Americas of vaccinated and the unvaccinated. Regions that are highly vaccinated, regions that are not. Will you get your child vaccinated? You tell me. 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. Are you an emergency use authorization? Is that enough for you to get your child vaccinated? Or do you feel safe with them being in school and being out in public without the vaccine? Do you feel that you know enough? Want to know what your thoughts are? 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. That is, as we see that studies, according to this CNN report, from Israel and from Qatar, published in the New England Journal of Medicine, support arguments that even the fully vaccinated need to maintain precautions against infection. In fact, there is declining effectiveness with the 2 doses of the vaccines. We are seeing that. Vaccines may have prevented 250,000 COVID-19 cases and 39,000 deaths among seniors, but still, you need to be physically distanced, and we're watching a sharp drop-off in effectiveness, after just 2 months. After just 2 months, everybody. So let's think about that. Please be safe out there. Take care of yourselves. In the meantime, you're still seeing pushback. You're still seeing pushback. American Airlines will require all employees to vaccinate, but 30% of their pilots said that they will not do it. How will that work out? Seattle Police Force, 27% of their police officers said that they will not respect the mandate. What do you think about that? I mean, more and more. And the Los Angeles sheriff says he will not enforce the vaccine mandate. There's a lot going on, everybody. You got to think about it. The debt ceiling, the Senate voted 50-48 Thursday evening to extend the nation's debt relief through early December after Democrats and Republicans reached a deal to avert economic disaster following weeks of partisan deadlock over the issue. 11 Senate Republicans broke ranks to vote with all Democrats to overcome a filibuster so that the debt ceiling announced earlier in the day could move forward. Former President Donald Trump indicated that he will try to assert executive privilege to prevent a House committee investigating the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol from getting information from certain witnesses. Let us get to some of this good news because the hits just keep on coming. Pastor Tisha Williams is just one day after another. We had one of our attack submarines, the USS Connecticut, suffered an underwater collision in the South China Sea. I mean, what? I mean, this is just too much. Was it a nuclear attack? This is a nuclear submarine. Governor Pritzker in Illinois says that Chicago is nearly at a state of emergency in addressing crime. We're going to talk about that next week. And parents in California are suing the state, alleging that Black and Latino students are harmed more by disciplinary practices, although quite frankly, that has been proved in study after study after study. Black and brown children are more likely to be suspended or expelled from school, and it puts them on the fast track to prison. Pastor Tisha Dixon Williams, author of I See You Sis. Go to Amazon and get it, everybody. I See You Sis. And of course, she's the pastor of the First Baptist Church in Bridgehampton, New York. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, as always, Santita, for having me. This is a lot going on in the world, isn't it?
All day long, my dear sister.
It has been a lot. And so today, that's why I want to talk about unpacking anxiety. Oh, boy. Yeah, unpacking anxiety. So it's no secret. You all know I love to travel. I'm of the mind that travel is the only thing you can buy that makes you richer. And I love everything about traveling, even packing. I'm one of those people who love to pack. And while I pride myself on being an efficient packer, I'll admit I'm not always the lightest packer. There are times that I fall into that But what if I need that rabbit hole, causing me to lug around more luggage than I need? Thus begins my suitcase supplication. Lord, you know I packed this mess. Please let my bag weigh 50 pounds or less. Interestingly, though, I found that this same dilemma is true for our emotional baggage. We often pack our emotions so efficiently that we forget how heavy our baggage can become. And in truth, excess baggage isn't only physical. As we go through life, ask yourself, how many useless emotions are you carrying around today? What have you packed for your guilt trip? What have you packed for your inner critic cruise? Have you packed yet for your quick jaunt into jealousy, your excursion into low expectations? Are you staying overnight in outrage or taking a voyage through vexation? Each one of these trips, each one of these areas leads us to the heaviest emotional baggage of all, worry and anxiety. But it's time to unpack. We begin unpacking anxiety so that we might have room to receive God's remedy for anxiety. Worry leads to anxiety. But can I say this today? Worry is like a rocking chair. It'll give you something to do, but it won't take you anywhere. The equestrian in me says worry is a fast getaway on a wooden horse. And who can worry? Especially in this season, we went from FOMO, fear of missing out, to FOGO, fear of going out, to FODO, fear of dying out. Yes, you have cause to be worried. And let me pause here and help someone today. God is not angry with you for worrying. Anxiety, worry causes anxiety. Anxiety is distress about future uncertainties. And it primarily has to do with what may happen in the future, either near or distant. So depression looks in the past, peace lives in the present, but anxiety looks to the future. Anxiety has three main elements: insecurity, something bad is going to happen; helplessness, there's nothing I can do; and isolation, there is no one to help me. But I have come to find out through my years of therapy and battling anxiety is that anxiety is a liar. You're imagining a future where God isn't present to help you. But come here, Maury. The lie detector determined that that was a lie. If that's you today and anxiety has lied to you and told you that you're insecure, well, the truth is you are very secure. Let us therefore approach the throne of grace with boldness so that we may receive mercy and find grace in the time of need. You may feel helpless, but the truth is you have great help. What then are we to say about these things? If God is for us, who is against us? While you may feel isolated, the truth is God is always at your side. Yea, though I walk through the darkest valley, I feel no evil. You are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. The good news today is that the remedy for anxiety is complete trust and confidence in God's ability to deal with anything that threatens to come your way. The more you learn about God, the more we know God's infinite power and God's concern for us. Isn't it good to know that God is with you from the beginning to the end of whatever you're going through, the Alpha and the Omega? And yet, wait for it, we find that God is more than that. When we consider who God is, we've often deemed him as Alpha and Omega. But as we experience life, we've come to discover that God is actually Alpha through Omega. I ought to have a witness today that says God doesn't just start with you in the beginning. God carries you through the messy middle all the way to the end. God is not just Alpha and Omega. God is Alpha through Omega. God is Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, Epsilon, Zeta, Eta, Theta, Iota, Kappa, Lambda, Mu, Nu, Xi, Omicron, Pi, Rho, Sigma, Tau, Epsilon, Phi, Chi, Psi, Omega, and everything. God is even God through, did you hear it? Delta. I'm not concerned about Delta as much as I used to be, because between that Alpha and Omega sits Delta. God is in the middle of everything. So here's what I'm here to say today. Unpack your anxiety and make room for the promises of God. You're Alpha through Omega. And that's the good news.
Amen. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Joy says, come on, come on, come on. You preaching. Amen. That's it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Whew, be not anxious. I thank you for that. All these things you make me think
God
about.
be the glory.
Oh, for all the things that God has done. And God has already
Yes.
done them, already performed some
Amen.
miracles, already performed some miracles, and is waiting for you to acknowledge them. The fact that you're up this
That's
morning,
good.
it's a miracle. You don't have to be here. And what did Paula said, I fear my husband suffers from FOCO. Leave him alone. But you know what? A lot of people are fearful, Paula. A lot of people are. A lot of people are. And that's why that's why I really start the day not only with this good news, but with Dr. Verholden, Dr. Knighton, so you can be empowered with information. One of the things that we love about Dr. Deborah Verholden, epidemiologist out of Johns Hopkins, and she's the Associate Dean of Public Health at Michigan State University, who's with us right now, Pastor. She, even before we got the vaccine, she would tell us every day, these are the things that you need to do. Very calmly, soberly, this is what you need to do. If you do these things, we can get through this and we can get through this safely. We started flattening the curve last year before we got the vaccine, she reminds us. And yet we're not doing something, Reverend, because Dr. Deborah Verholden, we have lost more people. More people died. When I read that information to you yesterday, I had to dig a little bit deeper just to confirm it. More people have died from COVID-19 this year with the vaccine than last year. So what do we not do? What should we be doing? I don't want to talk about what we're not doing. I want to look at what we should be doing. Dr. Deb?
Prevention, prevention, prevention. That's our best strategy.
Okay.
Prevention is to avoid getting sick in the first place. It doesn't have to be fear-based. Nobody has to do the most. You know, I've always been taking my finger at you. Do not put on 5 masks. You don't need 5. 1 will do. That people wear properly. It's just prevention. We know. You want to get something that's really, really deep. And I this really hit me yesterday. The last big, pandemic that we had like this was that flu pandemic of 1918, right? Do you know that flu is still with us?
Really?
It is still with us. We get vaccinated against it every year. That flu is still with us. We do not, it did not go away. It did not, we didn't eradicate it. We didn't do any of that. We mitigated spread. We got it down low. We figured out how to live with it. And then it's still with us. Yeah. And so that's what this is too. The problem is the things that we have to do to bring it under control, people don't want to do. And it's unfortunate because it's like doing half of the work all the time and then like never being able to get the job fully done. Because we get halfway there and then, chaos and disorder brings us right back to the starting point. And then we just do half of the work and then I guess we're just going back and forth, round and around. If we would actually just bring the spread down, then we'll actually have an opportunity and really begin to figure out what it's going to be like to live with this. COVID is now just with us, or I should say the virus that causes COVID-19 is just with us now. And we're just going to have to learn how to live with it. So what people are going to, I'm going to just say what I've always said. People need to do their part to prevent spread right now. And I think that's only a whole new set of conversations that we might want to consider having. What will it look like, us living with COVID? What will that look like? Clearly, we're not going to live in a society where everybody wears masks. That's just not. We could barely get, the last 18 months of that have been, very hard to manage. But this is now just with us. It's now just with us. So prevention is our best strategy. And the other thing, and I've said this too, take the reins of your own health. Use this as an opportunity to self-reflect. Take on that thing that you haven't been willing to take on. I know a lot of people who quit smoking during COVID. A lot of people who cut back on their drinking during COVID. people who got their first colonoscopy or their first mammogram or, some of those other things. People who really took on that extra 25 pounds that they've been carrying around. As much as we had the people sitting at home in isolation, I also know a lot of stories of people who took some things on that they had, set to the side and said, one day, someday, but not today. I'll deal with it. And so I think that's another big thing that people can do. Take the reins of your health. Optimal health is your best strategy against any foreign invader, against any virus, against any cancer, against any disease. Optimal health is the best strategy for all of us to take on. So that's my recommendation to people. Prevention, and take the reins of your health. Use this opportunity. Don't let it pass us by, because this thing is now just with us.
Paula said, wow, it's with us. Yes, it's with us. It is with us. Next week, I want to talk with you about the vaccines for the children. What Pfizer and BioNTech have asked for emergency use authorization. And next week, I want us to talk about that. I mean, this is, as we're watching, and this is not Pfizer BioNTech, but as we're seeing, Moderna will not, the governments of Sweden and Denmark will not allow them to use that on young children. They're putting a pause on that, for anyone 30 or under, because they want to make sure that what they're seeing with some heart issues is not widespread. And so I'm just wondering, when we speak about that next week, I want to talk about that. And if we'll ever have the power to say, I want this vaccine and not the other, right? There's a lot to talk about, but stay right here, Dr. Deborah Holden. This is something in your wheelhouse as we talk about equity and equality. Johnson & Johnson pushed Johnson's baby powder in the Black community because Black women wanted to use baby powder to be clean, to be personally hygienic. And it was marketed very aggressively, even though they've known since at least 1971 that the talc in that baby powder is tainted with asbestos, and that asbestos is carcinogenic. They knew that 50 years ago. What do you think about that? More for the Santita Jackson Show. Call me, text me. What do you think? Should people be allowed to sue? Now Johnson & Johnson is trying to structure it so that they don't have to sue. That you can't sue them. More for the Santita Jackson Show in just a few minutes. 773-763-9278. Back in just a minute.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT Willow Springs is powered by ComEd. Lower your energy bills and reduce your carbon.
I just need you to bring that down just a bit. Thank you, dear.
If you owe the IRS back taxes, then get
Pastor?
ready to pay up. The IRS has giant private collection agencies actively tracking down folks who owe the
Hello?
IRS.
She left.
Oh, okay.
Was stressful in the past,
And who
it's
do we
going to
have
get
on?
A whole lot tougher. Optima
Just for Holden.
Okay. Well, you get everybody else
Solve your
on.
tax problems
Thank
now
you so
before it's
much.
too late. Optima Tax Relief works to stop the demand ladder, stop the aggressive collection actions, and stop the
Okay,
IRS
Dr.
collectors
Verholden?
from targeting you. Ask Optima about
Yes,
the
ma'am.
I'm going to introduce you to this gentleman who I just met, actually. Very, very impressive young man. And he is helping to lead this charge, specifically with Black women, since J&J targeted Black women because of our own habits and strivings for personal cleanliness, even though they knew that Johnson's baby powder had a carcinogenic substance in it. And so now we've seen, of course, a rash of ovarian cancers and cancers in the intimate space for women, for Black women especially, because of our use of Johnson's baby powder to be fresh. At least that's what we felt was happening. D. Ray, Reverend's birthday is actually today. It's actually today. He turns 80 today. But we're going to be doing something at Rainbow Push tomorrow at starting at 9. You can get there a little early. We're going to be physically distanced from each other, spiritually together. But of course, got to have a party for Daddy.
Attorney Hoffler's online.
Okay, Attorney Hoffler.
Yes, good morning.
How are you? I've got Dr. Deborah Verholden on with us.
Wonderful. Hi, Dr. Deb.
Good morning.
And can you pronounce this gentleman's name for me one more time? Navan.
Yes. Navan Ward.
Okay, I just put that little symbol over that.
Part of the unvaccinated
Okay,
population of
'cause
this
I'm-
world.
and the
vaccinated.
accent.
Sooner
So
or
there we
later,
go.
the virus is going to figure
Okay.
out.
Well, I'm so
how to
glad that
defeat
you all are
the
here,
vaccines
and I'm
we've
glad that
got.
we are. Philip, you said Johnson & Johnson is acting like a child who know they done wrong and trying to get out
Attorney
of
Ward's
punishment.
online.
Well, they're also acting like criminals. How about that? I mean, call the spade the
Well, no,
spade.
absolutely.
Attorney Ward's on the line.
Attorney Ward?
Hey,
Hey, I am doing well. We've got Attorney Hoffler, but I have a lady who I want you to meet. She's one of the most esteemed epidemiologists in the world. She's someone who I think that you all should be together. Came out of Johns Hopkins at 24 with her PhD in epidemiology, full scholarship. I have to say that because I'm so proud of her myself. But that having been said, Michigan State University's medical school brought her there to create their School of Public Health. She's their associate dean. They don't have a School of Public Health, but she's building it. And she's here with us today. She's someone you should know. And at the center of her work is the fight for equity. This is Dr. Deborah Verholden. Dr. Deborah Verholden, and I'm honored to have her do the show every morning. Really tamping down the fears. A lot of people have gotten vaccinated. A lot of people, quite frankly, Deborah, have also gone to the doctor for
35
physicals because of her work. But this young man has made some history himself, and we're so excited to have Attorney Navan Award with us. And he's the second president of the American Association for Justice, one of the most esteemed bar associations legal associations in the country. So stay right here. I'm so glad that you all are here. We're going to talk about this.
24 hours a day, 7 days a
Whew. All right.
That's Dr. Holden. I'm honored to be in your presence.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. Yes, we can change the world. We can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love. It's not too late. Gotta save the children. We can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. Of course, we're extending our time whenever we can with Dr. Deborah Verholden to talk about our health. We not only talk about COVID-19, but we talk about our health on the Santita Jackson Show on WCPT, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763. WCPT. The headline comes this way from NPR. Johnson & Johnson is facing tens of thousands of lawsuits over claims that its talcum-based products cause users to develop cancer. The company says its powder products are safe, but then there's a story from the New York Times that says, actually since 1971, they have known that this talc had asbestos, and that asbestos is carcinogenic. The story goes like this. An executive at Johnson & Johnson said the main ingredient in its best-selling baby powder could potentially be contaminated by asbestos, the dangerous mineral that causes cancer. He recommended to senior staff that the company upgrade its quality control of the talc. 2 years later, after this discovery, another executive raised a red flag, saying the company should no longer assume that its talc mines were asbestos free. The powder, he says, sometimes contained materials that might be classified as asbestos fiber. It's a carcinogen, everybody. This discovery was made, according to the New York Times, in 1971. So let's talk about this. Of course, Attorney C.K. Hoffler has brought this to my attention. She said, we have got to talk about this. And we're going to not only talk about this time, Dr. Deborah Verholden, we're going to help in this effort to get people to be a part of this. If you need to be part of the lawsuits, we want to help you in every way that we can. We're so honored to have Attorney Navan Ward. He is only the second African-American president of the American Association for Justice. Brilliant young lawyer. Paula Garcini-Zipser, one of our original Morning Stars, one of our founding Morning Stars, says, I knew of a woman, a very good friend, who was Black and the mother of my daughter's best friend in grade school. She passed away from ovarian cancer, and she used J&J baby powder all the time. Don't know if her family has a lawsuit. Well, Attorney C.K. Hoffler, before you bring on Attorney Ward, why did you think it was important that we look at this case?
Good morning, Santita, Dr. Deborah for Holden and Navan. I thought it was very, very important to bring on this case because I think that as a community of women, particularly a community of Black women who really talcum powder, baby powder, was one of the staple products or staple items that we had in our home and that we used growing up. Indeed, it was told that if you want to be fresh, refresh, you use talcum powder all over your body. And so I think that this litigation that impacted so many Black women that died from ovarian cancer, had other related diseases, is so important because people really don't know about the litigation. They may know it exists somewhere, but they don't know how close it hits home and that they could be part of a class or could be part of ongoing litigation. But more importantly, it's part of an ongoing disturbing narrative of how Black women and their pain are underestimated, not appreciated, and taken very lightly when it comes to medical treatment. I see this as a lawyer who does medical negligence cases. So many cases that I have are centered around the fact that Black women go into emergency rooms, go into labor and delivery, and their complaints of pain are completely ignored. And as a result, sometimes they die, or if they're in labor and delivery, they die and their children die. It's a common narrative, and it's tragic. So awareness is important for knowing about litigation. It also gives me a great deal of pride because I've worked as co-counsel with Navan Ward. He's from Beasley Allen, which is the largest, really, one of the largest plaintiffs' law firms in the country. We work together as co-counsel on the opioid litigation. We represent the city of Flint. I know that I had mentioned that previously, and he's just a phenomenal trial lawyer. It's very significant that he's the second African-American to serve as president of the American Association for Justice, the largest organization of trial lawyers in the world. Now, remember, I was president of the National Bar Association, which is the largest and oldest association of lawyers, of Black lawyers in the world, where we had over 66,000. But his organization is of trial lawyers. He has specialized in his entire career and been a lead attorney on much class action litigation involving healthcare issues, whether it was the metal on metal hip implant litigation, the proton pump innovator litigation, or now in this case, the Johnson & Johnson litigation playing a critical role, and this impacts our community. So I thought it was important to bring him on. I thought it was important to highlight this issue. I'm delighted that Dr. Deborah Holden is on because of her incredible and masterful work in healthcare, because we need to bring awareness and we need to make sure that women who could be eligible for litigation are made aware and make that call.
Attorney Ward, what is going on? What happened here?
Well, first of all, good morning, Dr. Holden. Good morning, CK, and certainly good morning, Santina. And I really appreciate you all allowing me to share the stage with you all today to quite frankly, talk more about what's going on with this crisis right here. And quite frankly, Santina, you and CK set the stage so very well with regards to the history of what's going on with baby powder, talcum powder, which goes even further back than the 70s. And CK setting the stage with regards to the fact that our community needs to be aware, because in the setting of clear evidence that talcum powder is connected and related to ovarian cancer, Johnson & Johnson and other defendants who make this feminine hygiene product, shower to shower, Nevia, oil of Olay, but mainly Johnson & Johnson, because they're the biggest actor in this bad acts of producing this product. In the midst of them knowing this, they targeted minority women, particularly Black and Hispanic women, in the midst of them knowing that this product increased the risk of ovarian cancer. And when we have gone through several lawsuits, several cases, the evidence and the documents that we've uncovered and presented to juries who have held them accountable in court, they don't lie. They're black and white with regards to what the evidence says. There is one particular document that just tells a story. It's a two-page document that has a heading of major obstacles and then major challenges. As far as the major challenges, the document goes, and this is a Johnson & Johnson 1992 document, August 1992 document. It says, because of the increased publicity of talcum powder and its ovarian cancer risk, that will eventually hurt our revenue. Then it goes on under the heading of major opportunities, and it talks about the two groups of women who use it the most. And then they say we are going to triple our marketing efforts to African American women and double our marketing efforts to Hispanics. And this is
hold on. They want to triple their targeting of the Black community and double their targeting of the Hispanic community.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And that is one of the most sinister things that we have seen about it. Because normally you and unfortunately you see corporations choose to make profit over the health of people, over the health of patients, over the health of the users that are using their products. And unfortunately, CK and I, we see that on a daily basis. But at least they apply that equally across the board. In this instance, again, the documents don't lie. In this instance, they know because of what CK talked about before. You have grandmothers who teach their mothers, who teach their daughters. It's a cultural thing with regards to feminine hygiene. In the South, in warmer climates, they've even targeted heavier set women because they want them to use this as a hygienic type of product to keep them comfortable and clean and feeling more comfortable when it's hot outside. And so this is kind of a cultural thing that Johnson & Johnson knew about and wanted to exploit, particularly with these particular women of color. And when you look at the fact that outside of the presence of using baby powder, talcum powder, Black women are least likely to get ovarian cancer. But then you look on the flip side, taking everything equal, women who use talcum powder, white, Hispanic, Black women are the most at risk of having ovarian cancer when exposed to talcum powder in the genital area. And so therefore, they knew that. They not only knew that this was causing ovarian cancer, they not only knew that Black women were the most exposed to getting ovarian cancer once at risk for getting ovarian cancer once on talcum powder, but they also chose to triple their marketing efforts with the African American woman community and double their efforts with the Hispanic community. And so, all of this has started to be exposed through these lawsuits, and we have been able to win and show these documents and show this evidence to juries, and they've been able to hold them accountable. But Johnson & Johnson and many other companies, unfortunately, they find ways to still get around that. And currently what we're seeing Johnson & Johnson do, or companies like Johnson & Johnson do, is evade their accountability by using the bankruptcy system to avoid having to pay these victims families for their loss and or for the injuries they have received from this targeted effort against this community. And any day now, any week now, we expect Johnson & Johnson to do exactly what Purdue did, the Sattler family did. Again, CK talked about how my firm, Beasley Allen, and her firm are working on the opioid litigation together. And what we've seen in this particular litigation is where one of those defendants, Purdue, who are worth billions, have used bankruptcy to further delay the justice for those victims by essentially shedding all of their assets into another company and now going into bankruptcy, which delays any type of compensation that a victim can have with them, and for them not to have any assets once any assets are actually given. And so this is one of those tactics that these big corporations try to use to make sure that they continue to avoid liability. And at the end of the day, if we are not able to hold companies accountable, what keeps them from changing their behavior, their tactics, particularly as it relates to targeting people in our communities? And so, our purpose here today is to make sure, number one, our community knows if you've been on Johnson & Johnson, go see a doctor. Make sure that you're checked out for ovarian cancer. And if, God forbid, something's happened, then go and see a lawyer. CK, Beasley Allen, there are many others that may very well be able to handle your case. But that's number one. Number two, and number three, there is legislation out there. Senator Elizabeth Warren saw what was going on, particularly with the opioid and the Purdue crisis, with the Purdue defendants in the opioid crisis, where they're attempting to evade liability by going to bankruptcy. And she aimed to put a stop to it. And she has a bill in the U.S. Senate, and there's an accompanying one in the House, the U.S. House. And so we need to urge our politicians to support that bill to keep companies like Johnson & Johnson, who will be doing it eventually in the next coming weeks or months, to keep companies like Purdue and the Sattler family from doing what they've already done to evade liability, so companies will truly change their behavior.
So we're talking here with Attorney Navan Ward, who is bringing to us something that we need to really discuss, Attorney C.K. Hoffler and Dr. Deborah Verholden. J&J, Johnson & Johnson, targeted Black women, especially. They aimed at Black women. They had a marketing campaign. They said, we're going to target Black women 3 times as much as we do white women. And we're going to target Hispanic women twice as much as we do white women. So that you can take these products, taking advantage of the fact that particularly in communities of color, women have always been shamed about our intimate areas, right? I think ladies can understand that you've always got to stay clean. You always want to smell fresh. And so people would, you almost you don't perfume a child, you put baby powder on them. And in fact, Chaparral said, what is the criteria for joining this lawsuit, Attorney Ward? She said, as CK stated, we use baby powder on everything, even our babies' bottoms, to prevent diaper rash. You come out of your mother using baby powder.
Yeah, and so fortunately, the science and the data shows that this affects women once they become childbearing years, once they become women. It does not affect babies. It does not affect adolescents. The science shows that you're more susceptible to be at risk for ovarian cancer once you start your menstrual cycle. Once the different hormones in the body interact, and whether you again, have particular, once you get to a certain point in life, that is when you're more susceptible for it. So fortunately, it does not extend all the way to when you come out the womb. Because, talcum powder is used as a preservative for everything, for a lot of things. When you open up a stick of gum, that chalky substance that's in the wrapper, that's talcum powder. Fortunately, there's no association with you ingesting it at that dose, at that amount. But when females sprinkle baby powder, shower, different products like that in their private areas to, again, keep them comfortable and safe or clean, what that does is those particles migrate up to the ovaries, and with the constant use of that over the years, that is what ends up triggering the process for ovarian cancer. And so that is the group of people that, again, if they've used it for a long period of time and have ovarian cancer, they're the ones that need to, again, number one, check their doctor to make sure. Because what the studies show is that 2,800 women per year are getting ovarian cancer due to the use of talcum powder.
Unbelievable.
And understand that talcum powder, that baby powder, has been on the market since 1800. So when we talk about the 70s, it goes back further than the 70s. Mm-hmm. The evidence started coming out in the 60s and 70s with regards to what that link was. And one of our experts, epidemiologists, he's been able to put together a lot of these studies and being able to give us a true picture of what type of horrific damage females in general are incurring. And unfortunately, as always, women of color are always disproportionately affected by this.
Oh, Dr. Verholden, Daryl says, I fault the FDA too, because they have to have known that the cancer risk for talcum powder way before now, and still allowed J&J to sell their baby powder. What do you make of this story?
It's unfortunate because, there are many health hazards that we didn't know about at the time, right? Mm-hmm. And I always use the example of lead. There was a time when lead was the best we had of everything. It's a soft, a workable metal, but yet it's got strength. So we used it to make pipes. We used it to make pencils. We put it in makeup. It was in everything. And then we figured out it was this potent neurotoxin. And then we had to go back and redress all of the places where, we had used lead. And we're still dealing with that. But once we knew better, we had to do better. Mm-hmm. This is just, to me, an atrocity. Once we understood the impact of asbestos and talc and all of these other things, the call to action didn't happen. Not only that, aggressive marketing tactics were used to really push these products onto African-American women. I think it's just really disgusting. It's like a public health disaster, and so the real hope is that people can be restored. But how do you restore someone's health? How do you get that back when someone is intentionally put you in harm's way, knowingly and willingly for profit? So I think that the key here is to send the strongest signal possible to these companies that this won't be tolerated, and you won't be able to hide behind bankruptcy and any of these other things and get away from being accountable and responsible for the real harm that these companies are causing to people.
I mean, and to Daryl's point, Attorney Hoffler and Attorney Ward, what about the FDA? What about these government agencies that are supposed to be protecting us? CK, Attorney Ward.
Well,
Attorney Ward, yes.
I can definitely answer that. There is a certain amount of fault that the FDA can have in these situations, but often the FDA, they are utilizing the data that these companies provide them. The companies are the ones that are responsible for doing several pre-trial, pre-market studies to be able to show the effectiveness, be able to show the efficacy, to be able to show the safety of these particular drugs or devices. And when they get to a point where they feel they can apply for it, then they provide the studies to the FDA for them to go through in order to approve it. Now, the studies that they provide sometimes may not be the full truth. And so the FDA is going off of what has been provided. The FDA doesn't have the ability to do their own studies. They would never have the ability to do their own studies for all of the potential drugs and devices that are on the market. And so they have to rely on what these companies provide them. And when the companies don't provide them either a true picture or purposefully not doing studies that they might know about would give negative results, then what they provide to the FDA is what the FDA utilizes. That's number one. Number two, when it relates to Johnson & Johnson and baby powder, that's a cosmetic, so that's not something that falls under the FDA, and that the rigors that a pharmaceutical drug or a device would have to go through in order to get on the market. Cosmetics, they don't have to go through that same rigor. They don't have that same standard, so to speak, to be able to show safety, to be able to show efficacy, how effective this particular product is. And so there was no FDA scrutiny to the extent that protects us or not in some instances, because again, the baby powder at least did not go up under the FDA.
And there's no oversight. See, that's my problem is they're taking the studies from the corporations and they're taking their word for it. The FDA needs to be endowed and they need to be indemnified so that they can do their own studies. This needs to be independent. That's part of the challenge that we have with trusting the science and trusting scientists now. It's all this, the fox guarding the hen house. We don't need that. And in the meantime, we've lost so many lives. So many people have suffered. Really? You know what? Attorney Navan Ward and Attorney C.K. Hoffler, these are the attorneys you need to contact. And if you can't handle the workload, because I know a lot of people want to reach out to you, then you can pass them to other people. But however you want to pass this out, we're going to do that. And I promise you, Attorney Navan Ward and Attorney C.K. Hoffler and Dr. Deborah Verholden, Dr. C. Deborah Verholden, you know, that's how I met your dad. We're going to be talking about this on this show, because this is shameful and it does not have to go on. It does not have to go on. And so if you need to be a part of a lawsuit, yeah, Paula, you should get in touch with your friends, family. They should get in on this. They should. And let's see where we go from this, because everybody needs justice. Let's talk about this Build Back Better bill. What's in it? And why is it that Joe Manchin is given so much power? He wants to remove, for example, from Medicare, your coverage for your dental, for your hearing, for your vision. Okay, who gets cut here? They've already gone from $6 trillion down to $3.5 trillion. Now he wants to go to $1.5 trillion. What gets cut? 2 free years of community college? Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a few minutes. Robert Williams, thank you all so much. Attorney Ward, we're going to have you come back with Attorney Hoffler and with Dr. Verholden.
Absolutely. This was great, Santita. Navan, thank you so much. This is step one. Step one in terms of making sure our community knows and is empowered to protect itself.
Mm-hmm. They just need to know. And I'm going to introduce you, formally introduce you to Dr. Deborah Verholden. She is incredible, and she has she covers a lot of ground. And people need to hear about your case. And I'm going to do everything I can with the people I know to get it out there.
Well, really do appreciate that, and I really enjoyed being able to get on here and answer questions and
oh, you'll be back. It's not a one-shot deal. You'll be back because you really have to repeat. You have to put this on. You have to put this on repeat. But I'm going to have to let the three of you go. CK, I'll see you later on this afternoon or later on today.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I'm going to let you all go because I need to get these 3 lines so we can bring in these guests for the next segment. But I love you, Deborah, CK, and I love you too, Navan.
All right. Navan, I'll be in touch. Talk to you soon. Santita, I'll see you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
God bless you. You too.
And I have never seen such an erosion of the rights that are guaranteed.
Okay, so you can load everybody up from the bottom. Coastman.
I call it out. I have folks.
Ooh, everybody. If you, Paula, if you know someone whose
Attorney
family.
Patillo and Lakeisha Myers on the line.
Oh, okay, and you can go from the bottom, okay? And that's State Representative Myers. Okay. State Representative Myers?
Good morning.
How are you? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
How are you doing?
Explosion in a mosque.
Much better.
Okay. Okay.
Northern Afghanistan. The Taliban said
Okay.
there were multiple
Take care of
casualties.
yourself.
A witness says he was praying at the time of the
Take
explosion.
Yes.
care of yourself.
The Senate
Having to learn that lesson.
Oh, yeah.
Into
Yeah.
December and
Learn it.
avert an unprecedented federal default.
Very, very important.
Voted no. Texas's Ted
Believe
Cruz
me.
says Democrats are on a spending spree.
I get it.
Spending in that debt.
I get it.
We are seeing
Okay, let me see.
going off in this country.
Global stock markets have risen.
Okay.
Investors wait for the U.S.
Right.
jobs data, which
See
will be
if I can
reported
get the
soon.
last of
That might
this stuff
influence the Federal Reserve
together.
whether to roll back
So I
stimulus.
got that.
Google will
that.
ban digital ads promoting false
Okay.
climate change claims from appearing next to other content, hoping to limit revenue.
Hey, everybody, if you want to hear the podcast of the show, go to WCPT820.com/Santita. It's the show without the commercials.
A small crack in the
Okay.
pipeline may have delayed response
So
to an
make sure
oil
you go
spill
do
near
that.
Los Angeles.
Nearly a week into the response and investigation of the pipeline.
Attorney Patillo, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, great. I'm going to bring you up. I'm abbreviating my headlines, and I'd like to do this up until, the 14th, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Every day, just so that we can get that. And we'll talk about Sunday. Not here, but let me know how you want to do Sunday. But Sunday you want to push people getting registered for the conference. And I want to thank Dr. Reeves for reminding me that this conference was coming, because she is registered virtually. Everybody, well, while we're on Facebook Live and on YouTube, why don't you tell people about the Creating Opportunity Conference of the Rainbow Push Coalition in Atlanta?
Ed Donahue, AP News.
Thank you so much, Santita. So, of course, it's the 22nd annual Creating Opportunity Conference. Janice Mathis, the former Southeast Regional Director, joked with me that now her conference is old enough to have a beer. But this year, we're really highlighting women in Women's Roundtable. Also, issues related to Black farmers, corporate responsibility, diversity and inclusion, and also youth entrepreneurship. People can register at creatingopportunityconference.com and find more information at rainbowpushatlanta.org. It's completely free, completely virtual. It's going to be October 14th and 15th, starting at 9:30 a.m. on the 14th, and end with a tribute to Reverend Jackson for his 80th birthday, and ending at 7 o'clock on the 15th with a little virtual birthday celebration for Reverend. And we're going to have some great birthday messages interspersed therein and kind of highlight what he's done in his 65 years of activism.
Okay, wonderful. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful conference, and wonderful opportunities for you. Linda, you said, did the tobacco industry, if not the FDA, where was the regulatory responsibility? Hey, that's what I want to know. And I don't think that Attorney Ward was trying to let the FDA off the hook. You're just seeing how there is no uniformity here.
Your family depends
Right.
on your income, and
And the fact is, the
you
FDA
need life insurance.
knew that number one, that J&J baby powder and these other baby powders have asbestos. They know that it's carcinogenic. They've known that for 50 years, and they did nothing. They need to be called to account too. And you need to change a culture in which private corporations examine themselves, present the information to our government, and then the government says, oh, okay, You said you're great, so you're great. Who does that? The fox guarding the hen house. What is up with that? That's crazy. The FDA should be doing independent investigations. And if they don't have enough money to do that, then that should be allotted to them. They should ask the Pentagon for some of their change. So let's see, this is ridiculous. Your daughter keeps in touch with your friend's daughter. I wish she would. They should look into this. Okay, who do we have on, Cosme?
All the guests are up.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. Commissioner Johnson?
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It's Friday, October 8th, 2021. I'm Santita Jackson, coming to you from the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, WCPT 820 and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It's a joy to be with you today, coming to you from Chicago and Minneapolis, St. Paul. I want you to meet my morning stars over on the YouTube channel of the Santita Jackson Show. The Santita Jackson Show. Yeah, it's pretty simple. So please, everybody, meet Dave Dowling and Linda and everybody over there if you can. Carol Soskin can't meet you over there yet because she said she has to get her phone fixed, but we were told that everyone needs to be migrating over to the YouTube channel. So please do that, everybody. We need your support, and we appreciate you for all of the support that you've given us. It's a joy to be with you today. We've been talking about this J&J, these lawsuits filed against J&J, because they targeted Black women in particular, and Hispanic women, but most of all Black women, to sell this baby powder. To sell baby powder when they knew that the baby powder contained talc, which contained asbestos, which is carcinogenic. They've known this for 50 years. So if you need to be a part of a lawsuit because you've got an ovarian cancer or some kind of cancer in your intimate area, you need to do that. Attorney C.K. Hoffler and Attorney Navan Ward are the attorneys you need to get in touch with. All right, everybody. So, and of course, we had good news from Pastor Tisha Williams. And if you want to hear the show without commercials, go to the podcast at WCPT820.com/Santita. And we will, you'll be able to get all of that information, including this discussion we're about to have on Build Back Better, this reconciliation bill, if you will, that $3.5 trillion. Well, Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin said it needs to be $1.5 trillion. Who's going to get cut? It's not what's going to get cut, it's who, and it's you. So we're going to be talking about that in just a minute. Let me get a couple of these headlines out the way so we can get on with the rest of the day. Pfizer and BioNTech said they are seeking U.S. Food and Drug Administration emergency use authorization for their COVID-19 vaccine for children ages 5 to 11. If authorized, this would be the first COVID vaccine for younger children. That comes as studies are confirming waning immunity from Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. After 2 months, they see a significant drop in effectiveness, but still a heightened response to COVID-19, helping to prevent hospitalizations and serious illness. So what do you think about that, everybody? American Airlines will require all of their employees to be vaccinated, but they're getting pushback from their pilots. 30% of them say no. The LA Sheriff's Office is saying that they will not enforce vaccine mandates. Governor Pritzker here in Illinois is saying that Chicago is nearly in a state of emergency with respect to crime, everybody. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. I'm going to see the rest of my headlines to Attorney Robert Patillo, who's the Southeastern Regional Director for Rainbow Push, brilliant civil rights lawyer. He hosts his own show on WAOK every Sunday. You don't want to miss it from 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Attorney Patillo, you've got the Creating Opportunity Conference of the Rainbow Push Coalition. That is free. It is virtual. It is October 14th and 15th. It's next week, next Wednesday, Thursday and Friday? Thursday and Friday. So, okay, talk to us about it. Creating Opportunity. It's free. It's virtual.
Thank you so much, Santita. Absolutely. The Creating Opportunity Conference is in its 22nd year. As the former executive director of the Southeast region, where Janice Mathis created the conference in 1997 or 1999, has said the conference is old enough to have a drink now. So this year we're going to be really focusing on some of the federal programs that have been created to, or the federal legislation that is being pushed through right now, and what effect it's going to have on the Southeast region and indeed African Americans and people of color nationwide. We're going to have a session with heads of the legislative black caucuses from each of the Southeast states on voter suppression to talk about how each of those delegations is fighting voter suppression in their state. We will have a session with youth entrepreneurs ages 6 to 17 to talk about their businesses and connect them with industry leaders to find out how they can grow their little baby businesses into major industries over the next decade. We'll have a conversation with Tom Vilsack, the United States Agricultural Secretary, on black farmers and their needs going forward, and many other sessions, including Women in Leadership with C.K. Hoffler. We'll be moderating with Janice Mathis, Zonota Clayton, Nancy Flake Johnson from the Urban League, and many others. So you can get a full conference rundown at creatingopportunityconference.com. That's creatingopportunityconference.com. You can also register there, completely free, completely virtual. You can see the conference from your phone, from the comfort of your own home. And we want everybody to have all this information. As well, we'll be doing a birthday tribute to Reverend Jackson to celebrate his 80th birthday. We'll be opening the conference with a virtual celebration and also closing the conference with a virtual celebration of Reverend Jackson. So we want people to be able to log in and give their well wishes to him in his 80th year of life and 65th year of activism. Again, that's creatingopportunityconference.com.
Absolutely. And today I dedicate the show to Reverend Jesse Jackson, to my daddy. It is his 80th birthday today, October 8th, 1941, was the day that my grandmama gave birth to him. Sending her much love as she is in heavenly peace. I love up there with my great-grandmother, Matilda Burns, my great-grandmama, Tibby, who together they raised him along with my father's stepfather, Charles Henry Jackson, and we proudly carry his name to this day. Thank God for them, and thank God for you, Daddy, today. Happy birthday. Can't wait to get off the air and give you a big, 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 big hug since I've taken my COVID test, and I am negative. Thank you. Praise the Lord. But if I weren't, I'd be sending them virtual hugs. Can't stop, don't stop, won't stop. Everybody. And tomorrow at Rainbow Push, we will be celebrating physically distanced his birthday tomorrow at 930 East 50th Street. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a great celebration. We're so blessed. His health has been restored, and he's doing everything he can just to continue with the work. His health has been restored, and so has Mrs. Jackson's. We've been so blessed, so blessed. Everybody, let's talk about the $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill. You know, the Democrats, for reasons that are a mystery to me, they've talked about the numbers. You know, we got $1 trillion physical infrastructure bill, roads, bridges, all of that. And that's important. The American Society of Civil Engineers says that we need about $20 trillion to get our roads and bridges together. I mean, the whole infrastructure of the United States. But President Biden said, you know, he knows that we have got LBJ era problems. We've got FDR era problems. So he said, you know what, we need to #build back better. And how do we build back better? He said, well, what we're going to do is give you 2 free years of community college. I'm not going to give it to you. We're going to invest in people. And think about his wife, who has been teaching in those colleges for her throughout her career, Dr. Jill Biden, 2 free years of community college. Do you know what that would mean to get all of those college credits under your belt that you could transfer to a 4-year university? Do you know what that would do to your debt load, how it would lessen it? Child care and universal pre-K, Medicare expansion, including dental, hearing, and vision coverage, extended child tax credits, cutting prescription drug prices, paid family and medical leave. That's what's in here. Climate change, and including a bill that would authorize $5 million a year for the SBA to assist people who've just been released from prison, to assist them to become entrepreneurs. You get a lot of people who go to prison, they get some training, or they do their own self-study, and they come out ready to work. That is what's in this bill and more. And more. Now, Senator Sanders has hit out at Joe Manchin. He said, you know what? You mean to tell me you want to drop child and Medicare provisions? He said, well, how do you explain that to the people of West Virginia? Joining Attorney Robert Patillo is two of our elected officials. We've got our own Cook County Commissioner, Brandon Johnson, who hosts his own show here on WCPT every Sunday at 9 a.m. I don't want you to miss it. It's a fantastic show. He's a great host. We've got Wisconsin State Representative Lakeisha Myers. I know you've got something to say about this. And, of course, our own attorney, Erin Connolly. Brilliant political strategist, still trying to figure out, she's trying to pick herself off the floor, trying to figure out how Kirsten Sinema, this woman who she knows from Arizona, she said, how did she get all the way over here? I don't know, Erin, but we're not going to blame you for it because we know where your politics are. Love you, love you, love you. Let's start here. Robert Patillo, let me start with you because I'm sure you'll be talking about this on Sunday. Set the table for us. What should be cut? Because now Joe Manchin has finally come up with a number. He would not tell President Biden, the number. He said, okay, you don't want $3.5 trillion. He said, so what is the number? Neither he nor Senator Sinema would give them a number. Now Joe Manchin has said $1.5 trillion. And we're going to start cutting the children and Medicare. What say you, Attorney Patillo?
Well, what should be cut is nothing. The bill started at $6 trillion and has already been cut to $3.5 trillion. What is this arbitrary number of $1.5 trillion, and what's the justification for that versus $3.5 trillion? Is it just a number that you like? Are you a numerologist? Is it your zodiac sign or something? Is it your lucky number? They haven't articulated where $1.5 trillion comes from. And just a little math, and I'm terrible at math, but this math that even I can do. 3.5 trillion, the U.S. GDP is about $20 trillion per year. So 3.5 trillion only comes out to 17% of 1 year's GDP. But this is stretched over the course of a decade. So we're talking about 3.5 trillion out of a $20 trillion GDP over the course of 10 years, meaning you're looking at 1.7% of the yearly GDP to pay for this $3.5 trillion bill. That's a drop in the bucket. How much of a drop in the bucket? The annual U.S. military budget is over double that. We pay about 3% GDP for our military budget every year. So instead of being able to cut 1 or 2 aircraft carriers, a couple fighter jets, and maybe cut some money from Space Force, we are talking about cutting early childhood education, feeding the hungry, vision and dental from public assistance, to free college. The reason that the billionaires we have in America today, like Elon Musk is from South Africa, Jeff Bezos is Cuban, Richard Branson is British, is because we don't educate the people in this country. Why in the heck will we take a generational chance and cut it in half again just for the sake of getting to a number that some guy from West Virginia likes? And I think that Joe Biden is going to have to stand up and let Joe Manchin understand that Joe Manchin gets in line with him. President Biden doesn't get in line behind Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin is going to be the de facto leader of the free world. So let's just have all the pomp and circumstance and make him president right now. But we cannot continue to have a shadow government run by these backwater conservatives. And I think progressives need to understand the power of obstruction and see that Joe Manchin and Christian Sinema are literally having the entire nation bend over backwards for them, just to mollify them for no apparent reason other than them being the squeaky wheel. And so when it comes to voting rights, when it comes to police brutality, when it comes to things that progressives and African Americans have been asking for, I'm going to want to have the same level of obstinance. I don't want to hear, well, we'll just get in line behind them and wait for our turn. No, I want the same techniques that Manchin and Sinema are using, because apparently they are effective, because we are willing to cut children's food, literally take food out of children's mouths because Joe Manchin doesn't like what a number sounds like. I think it's a completely ridiculous idea that we are cutting programs at all.
Wisconsin State Representative Lakeisha Myers, how is this going to look in Milwaukee?
I tell you, it would look very, we need it. Let me just start there. And I agree with everything that the attorney has said. Nothing should be cut. When you look at where we are now, we are highly uneducated as a populace in the United States. And we have to go back and kind of have this rebranding of America. We need education. I know there are school districts all over the country that have embraced dual enrollment opportunities, and this would be a great investment for them to have students walk out of the high school door with a community college degree. It has worked for many, many years in districts that have done it. I think that should be something that we fully invest in. One of the things that came to my attention, though, was looking at what this would really cost if we cut this. So I wonder if it's more the number, or if it really is about the Hyde Amendment that Joe Manchin really wants to add to this bill. Because I think a lot of times that gets overlooked. This could possibly be a back alley way, to get the Hyde Amendment in this piece of legislation, which would prevent reproductive access for many women. And I think that's one of the things that we've not talked about yet, is how this has been kind of, placed into this bill. He said, he wants to add this. So like the attorney said, he's just giving arbitrary issues and saying, we want it cut in half again, and then we want to add extra things to it. But the president has said he's not willing to bend in that manner to add the Hyde Amendment to this. I just don't want us to be left behind yet again when it comes to universal pre-K, because anytime the price tag for childcare costs almost as much as the state college tuition, I think that's a problem. And we know we have bigger fish to fry when it comes to our academic prowess for our students.
Attorney Erin Connolly, your thoughts?
Well, I think that they keep talking about the numbers, as you say, Santita. They keep just talking about the 1.5 trillion, 3.5 trillion, because they don't want to say, I don't value the moms that I've been, for example, Kirsten Sinema has all these posts that say, girls run the world, women run the world. Okay, how about you support the women that have sacrificed during this pandemic by lessening their load for childcare? I think comparing it to the tuition of a college per month is accurate. It's more than a mortgage payment for many folks, right? Childcare in a major city in the United States. She doesn't want to say, I want to cut that for you. She does not want to say, I want to cut the tax credit that has brought so many families out of poverty. I want to end that early, because I really don't value your children. I don't value the fact that you don't have to stress every single month to make ends meet and have just a tiny little bit of cushion where you're not right at the edge. I don't really care about that. I would rather give those tax breaks to my corporate friends in the pharmaceutical industry than make sure your great-grandmother has her eye screening for her glaucoma or her diabetes, that has complications for dental issues, for vision care. All of these things are connected. Okay. And they don't want to talk about the specific line item pieces that they're going to have to cut, because this bill is already paid for, right? Mm-hmm. That's the thing we're not talking about. We know where the money is going to come from, and it's going to come from people that deserve to pay their fair share. Finally, we've heard this messaging out of the Obama White House, out of the Biden White House, saying that folks making over $400,000 a year should pay a little bit more in taxes, and our society should be built back better. This is the chance. This is why we elected Democratic leadership in the House, in the Senate, and in the White House. If we don't do something now, the political ramifications are going to be dire for these folks. And I don't think that living in their political Washington bubbles, they can make that leap back to the American people, back to what the real folks living in West Virginia and Arizona, trying to pay their mortgage, trying to keep their gas line running, trying to pay all of their bills, trying to fund their parents' or grandparents' medication when they can't make ends meet because prescription drug prices have skyrocketed in this country. They're not living that reality. So when Joe Manchin comes back and says, I don't want a society that's entitled, that's based on entitlements, these are not entitlements. These are earnings. We've earned this in the last 10 years, where we keep seeing tax cuts for the richest in America. And this is the time where the American people deserve their payback, period. And they don't want to talk about those specific things. They don't want to talk about how many kids with learning disabilities will be screened because of early childhood education, universal pre-K, added preschool benefits, childcare where kids do receive instruction, right? They don't want to talk about how their actions will hurt these families. So they just keep it these broad, big numbers that you can't feel the pain of America. And you know, many people aren't in that boat, right? Or they don't want to admit that they've received a benefit like this because our society is so against taking what you deserve. But the American people deserve these things. These are not entitlements. These are basic necessities that every country in the world tries to give their citizens. And it's time we invest in our people instead of the people that don't need the help. We'll see a cost benefit when we talk about things like violence, when we talk about things like domestic violence. It's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. When we talk about people being out of work and on the streets creating chaos, how do you think that we fix that? We provide them some sort of benefit that makes their life easier, where they're not desperate, where they don't feel the need to commit crimes because their basic needs will be met by a society that has made promises that we can all live this American dream. Let's prove it.
Commissioner Brandon Johnson, I have 2 minutes for you.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Look, I think our two women laid it out. You know, I think we have to continue to talk about what's in it, because that's what the debate has to be about. You know, this wasn't an issue. You know, Santita, I'm a history teacher, taught it here in Chicago. You know, 7th up through 12th grade, and you know, it's very clear that when the Great Depression rolled around and unemployment was 35% for white men, our country referred to that as a national crisis, and began to invest in ways that we have never seen before in this country. I mean, literally, white men were receiving shovels before there were things to dig, because, of course, our country saw the value in that type of investment. We know that through housing, they got free college, they got jobs, obviously Social Security became expanded. I mean, you can go on and on. And so now you're looking at families that are living in abject poverty. You know, the type of isolation of poverty that exists in this country for Black, brown, and white folks, it is a very wicked sight. And so this is a moment right now that we have to own and find our true values. And I think that's what progressive politics has brought to us in this season, to actually fight for the things that families need. And when we're talking about child care, I can tell you, I just dropped my 3 kids off, $1,500 a month for child care, and that was considered affordable. My mortgage is $1,100. This is a real fight. It's a real battle for the soul of our country. And if we want to make sure that working class families are protected and folks in poverty are brought up out of it, this is the time to fight for those investments.
Cook County Commissioner Brandon Johnson, who has his own show on WCPT. Everybody from all around the country, I hope you will listen to the show. It is great. Every Sunday. It comes on after Keep Hope Alive. Thank you very much. It's at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time here on WCPT. Tell all your friends about it. I'm Santita Jackson, coming to you from WCPT 820 here in Chicago and AM 950 Radio and in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and with my morning stars. Increasingly, you all are going over to YouTube. Thank you. Yay. The Santita Jackson Show. And if you want to hear the podcast of this show, no commercials, straight, no chaser, go to WCPT820.com/Santita. I am Santita Jackson. Let's talk about Build Back Better. What should be cut? Our panel says nothing should be cut. Joe Manchin says it should be cut in half and then some. Come on, everybody. Don't you need 2 free years of community college? Don't you need dental, vision, and auditory, and help? I mean, shouldn't you have those screenings with Medicare? I mean, talk to me. Back in just a minute. Okay, my brilliant panel. You all are the best.
Brandon, you were spot on. You were spot on, because when you look at the numbers, it's mostly white people who are using so-called entitlement programs.
And why are they, first of all, they changed the language on that thing. No, let's be clear. You're entitled to these monies. You're as entitled to them as Boeing and all the other corporations are, which are outliers of the American government. You know that better than everyone. They're the ones who get all the money. It's like, what are you all talking about? Entitlement.
Well, I mean, I think the harsh part is, Santita, I know you're aware, but in a month, I'm going to vote on the county budget here in Cook County, one of the largest economies in the world. I mean, our budget's going to hit about $8 billion, and a good portion of that, at least, $1 billion of that is coming from the federal government through the ARPA money. And we're talking about rental assistance for folks, keeping them from getting evicted, investing in workforce development. I can go on and on about where those investments are going to go, and particularly around our infrastructure. The need is so dramatic. When folks
I need you to say
about
that.
Dollars and cents.
I need you to say it, and I need you to come on Reverend Show on Sunday to do it too. Hello.
That would be, of course. We can't tell Reverend or
No, you can't tell Reverend no. You can tell me no. That's all right. I am not mad. I am not Reverend. Happy birthday, Daddy. Mwah. Sending you much love today. Whew. My father's 80. Oh.
Yeah, I was trying to find the right picture. I don't know if I like the one without the mustache. I'll tell him when I see him tomorrow.
Tell him. Oh boy. It makes him look like his dad.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, but all of my uncles, all of them have mustaches. I think that was Jesse. I don't know if that was Jesse's idea. I don't know. Nobody likes him without his mustache. Nobody. So everybody has said he looks, like Ernesto Borges. Who and Attorney Borges' mother. Well, they look alike. I didn't realize how much, but his mother is almost the twin of my father's mother. God rest her soul. I was in a restaurant and I turned around and saw her, and my heart almost leapt into my throat because my grandmother passed away in 2017, and it's as if she passed away yesterday. And I turned around and I looked at her, and I said, "Pardon me, but you look so much like my father's mother." She said, "You must be Jesse Jackson's daughter." I said, "Yes." She said, "I hear it all the time." They're almost dead ringers for each other. Unbelievable. She said, I'm Ernesto Borges's mom. I said, "Oh, wow." It's when my father got that mustache taken, I said, "Oh, wow, they look alike." She said, people would always say that my son.
I'm bringing to him
1 minute.
Party.
Bring it to his attention to say, grow it back. But nobody liked it. Nobody liked seeing them having it shaven, and nobody liked it. No, but you got to tell Jesse that too. Tell him that nobody liked it. But it made me jump. First time I saw him without a mustache, he had made a mistake one morning, and he had to cut it off. It grew back after a couple of days. I literally screamed. He was, the last one down for breakfast, and I said, "Oh." I was a teenager. It frightened me. To see my father without a mustache. I was like, there's something that's not right about this. Oh boy. Daniel, you said Biden thinks he got elected by coward moderate white voters. No, he didn't. I'm with you. But remember, Biden's politics are also right wing.
5 seconds.
So he needs to be fighting harder. He's been here selling vaccines. I'm like, I hear you. You're my man. Help me.
Change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show, Friday, October 8th, 2021. I'm Santita Jackson. It's a joy to be with you on my father's birthday, Reverend Jesse Jackson's birthday. He turned 80 today. And thank God for that. Thank God for that. We're going to be celebrating his birthday at Rainbow Push tomorrow, starting at 9 o'clock. Really, the real celebration begins at 10 o'clock. So meet us at 930 East 50th Street. Everybody, we're talking about Build Back Better. We've seen the $1 trillion bill for infrastructure, for roads and bridges, et cetera, the physical infrastructure of the country. Actually, that is far below what the American Society of Civil Engineers says that we need, but there's that. And so President Biden, knowing that he's in an LBJ moment, that's where he is. He's in an FDR moment. That's where he is. He said, okay, I want to build back better. So 2 years free of community college to get you started? Absolutely. Child care and universal pre-K Medicare expansion that would cover dental, hearing, and vision services, and on and on and on. Even $5 million in annual contribution to the SBA for those who just came out of prison, who want to become entrepreneurs, who want to start their own businesses. What does Joe Manchin want to cut? Well, he wants to drop child and Medicare provisions. And Bernie Sanders says, explain that to the people of West Virginia. And he's told the progressives, do not move. Don't remove one thing. We've got attorney Aaron Connolly, one of the most brilliant political strategists in the country. We have got Wisconsin State Representative Lakeisha Myers, brilliant representative. We've got our own Cook County Commissioner, Brandon Johnson, who has got he oversees, he votes on, helps to construct one of the biggest budgets in the world for state government, one of the biggest budgets in the world, one of the biggest in the world. And of course, Attorney Robert Patillo, Southeastern Regional Director for Rainbow Push. He's been talking to us about the Creating Opportunity Conference. It is free, it is virtual. Go to rainbowpush.org so that you can get registered for that conference. The Creating Opportunity Conference, everybody. Let's go to some of these callers who want to weigh in on this. Paul from Seattle. Paul, what's on your mind today?
Yes, good morning. A couple of things here. First thing, I agree that if this is an LBJ moment, then President Biden needs to take a page from President Johnson, and I won't go through all his criteria, but a couple of things that President Johnson said is you have to go public and you need to be passionate. And I think that President Biden and the Democrats could be more passionate about what's in the bill. I agree with those statements. The thing that really drives me crazy, though, is the idea that all of this is entitlement. Spending on the American people is entitlements. Well, you know, the Supreme Court visited the idea of entitlements in a case in 1970 of Goldberg versus Kelly, and they had to define what entitlements were, and they did. And it turns out there's a lot of things that are entitlements, not just food stamps and welfare. Entitlements are things like military contracts, farm subsidies, all kinds of subsidies for the energy industry, including the coal industry. Thank you very much, Senator Manchin, who has voted for trillions and trillions of dollars in subsidies for the coal industry. Also, all of those no-bid contracts in Iraq and Afghanistan, all those are entitlements. And so is all these Medicare Advantage insurance companies are entitlements, because the short-term definition is this. An entitlement is a federal benefit to which a party or a person or party is entitled if they have not directly paid into it, but they qualify for it by criteria of the application process. That's the general definition, and military contracts fit that, and all of these subsidies that we give to corporations, they are all entitlements, and they're far, far, far more than we hand out in food stamps and welfare, and that just burns me up. That they're be called. Now, by the way, Medicare and Social Security are not entitlements because we pay into them. FICA, their insurance, Federal Insurance Contribution Act. We contribute to those. Those are not entitlements. They keep talking about, these are breaking our country. No, what's breaking our country is all the entitlements for the corporation. And that's why Republicans love big government, because what they use the federal government for is to be a great tax revenue collector, to which they take the money and turn around and put it into private hands. That's what Republicans love government for.
Well, Republicans and corporatist Democrats. I mean, because it really goes beyond party. Yeah. It's about corporatists, whether they are Republican or Democrat, and they need to be called out. They need to be called out. They need to be called out, and we need to be very specific, because these are corporatists. And they can be Republican and they can be Democrat, and they need to be called out because they are costing us our teeth, our vision, our hearing. That's what they're costing us. They're costing us our education. They're costing us a whole lot. They're costing us child care. You just heard our own Cook County Commissioner, his mortgage is $1,100. Child care is $1,500 a month. What? Now, hey, I believe you need to pay people who take care of your children. Oh, and they need top dollar. That having been said, they need to be subsidized like we subsidize all these big corporations. That's what needs to happen. I'm sending you much love, Paul. Now, Paul, take it down just a little bit because I want you to breathe, my brother, because we need you. Chris from Wheaton, what's on your mind today?
Good morning, Santita. Good morning, panel.
Good morning, Chris.
Well, a couple things. Like Paul said, I'm celebrating your father on today.
Oh,
I
bless
saw him
your
on
heart.
TV yesterday looking like a human embodiment of black don't crack. He looks great. He looks cleaner than the Board of Health, as you like to say. So I'm celebrating him on today. I'll spare you the Stevie Wonder happy birthday singing because I play guitar better than I sing, but that's another discussion for another time.
All right.
My point is about the way that this is being handled in the media is that we're seeing these kids who are coming up now are different. They don't care about Democrats. They don't see Democrats as different right now. And when they're proven right by the Biden agenda, whether or not Joe Biden himself attaches himself to the Kirsten Sinema, Joe Manchin aspect of this, if this becomes a farcical $1 trillion thing in which, like you so eloquently pointed out, dental care, vision. I mean, these are things that keep people alive. And child care, God knows child care, because when it comes to child care, as someone who's an educator myself, I will tell you that you get what you pay for. If you underpay people, you're going to get underskilled workers working with our children. And that is something we don't want. I can assure all of you this. But my concern is that if this is a failure, we will see many, many more years going forward of a Trump-style right-wing, support for the people agenda going forward. Austerity all day, every day. And I think that they really need to get it together. And I agree with Attorney Robert Patillo. My neck was hurting from all the nodding I was doing because he was laying it down so correctly. I am very concerned about the effect this is going to have on the future of American politics if they don't get this done, because it's not going to be a good look for us right now. Not at all. So they need to get it together.
I think so, but I tell you, I'm pulling for the people. Parties, we kind of float between them. I'm a registered Democrat. I'm an independent Democrat. Democrats need to come with it. Either you're going to sell this or you're not. Now, they know how to get some votes, and they also know how to pull for someone, and they know how to pull someone off, because they have never been supportive of Reverend's progressive politics or Bernie Sanders. I get it. So, they need to come with it. They need to come with it, or these young people, as you just pointed out, Chris, they're going to leave them behind. They're already doing that. I mean, both parties are very unpopular with the American people. That's according to Gallup. That's their latest poll. I'm sending you much love, Chris. Please be careful. And if you can, come on over to Rainbow Push tomorrow. Okay?
Oh, maybe I will.
Good time. You better come on.
Appreciate you. Maybe I will.
I love you, and you better say hello to me so we can get that. I'm going to get as close to you as I can and give
No
you,
doubt. No doubt.
A virtual hug. How about
Thank
that? All right, sweetie. All right.
That's it.
Thank you, sweetie. Let me go to Jewel from New York. Jewel, how are you, Jewel?
Good morning, Santita. Good morning, everyone. I just want to take this opportunity to say happy birthday, happy 80th birthday to your dad, Reverend Jesse Jackson, and many more blessings. And good morning to your beautiful mom and your whole family.
Thank you.
Yes, it's always a blessing to see you every morning and hear these issues. And I hope that they make sure that they build back better, because the daycare is expensive. I remember when my children were small, I was very fortunate. At the time, I was working for the city, and they were giving me a subsidy. Oh, there's no way I would have been able to afford it. It would have been absolutely impossible. And I remember I even did a speech at a luncheon back then, a luncheon for the state to keep it going. And my daughter is, she's 28. So that gives you an idea that they've been you about this. And I just want to say that, and you have a blessed day.
You too, my sweet. Love you, girlie. Chapearl, what's on your mind today? Boy, you have called in just about every day this week. I think you are hot about this.
I am, Santita, and thanks so much for taking my call.
Of course.
I made a post yesterday on Facebook saying that Biden is worried about the wrong ish, but I use the other word.
Well, you put in Facebook jail? Yes.
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
But because he's out here promoting COVID and vaccines, he's promoting the debt ceiling, he's going to states. Why isn't he focusing on this bill? going state to state. Why isn't he in West Virginia? Why isn't he in Arizona? And they keep bringing me back to the point that he doesn't believe in the bill and he doesn't want the bill to actually pass. He is okay with them removing these safety measures that Americans need. When he's asking them, what do you want to cut? He should be standing firm like Bernie Sanders and saying, we going for a $3.5 trillion bill. That's what we passed. And that's the only thing I'm going to pass. And I'm trying to figure out, if he is the president of the free world, he has all this power, he has the ability to go on TV at a drop of a dime, and he's not doing it. He's taking, who is advising him? Who is making these decisions? It makes absolutely no sense what he's doing right now, and his strategy is failing completely. But I also wanted to say that I was listening yesterday, and this is a quick question for Brandon, about the universal basic income that Preckwinkle talked about yesterday. And I think that more counties need to have that discussion. Can we afford to have universal basic income so that way Americans can afford to live? I mean, we are out here choosing between medicine and rent, food and rent, child care and rent. This is what's happening to American people. And so I think that we have to begin to address it. And to the whole panel, what do we need to do? How do we get Biden to get on board and to push this agenda through?
Stay right there. Commissioner, why don't you speak to one of your constituents?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, we have proposed quite a bit on this county's budget. And, to our listeners around the country, the Cook County budget is one of the largest budgets in the entire world. I mean, it's the 20th largest economy and second largest county in the entire country. And in a month or so, we're going to vote on a budget that's about $8 billion. $1 billion of that is coming directly through ARPA, and it's going to help save lives. So I'm a big proponent. We propose this universal basic income, making sure that there's rental assistance, workforce development, so folks are prepared to shift as the economy grows, particularly this green economy, broadband, making the internet a public utility. I mean, there are a bunch of things that we have pushed forward, but I think that this dynamic around not just what's in this legislation, Build Back Better. Let's continue to talk about the fact that everything is crumbling around us throughout the country. Whether you're on the west side of Chicago, western suburbs of Chicago, whether you're in Carolina, Virginia, folks are getting flooded out. I have constituents, when it rains, they can't get out their back door. And we're talking about, again, one of the richest times in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. And so I think the question about what we need to do is that we have to stand firm to protect the lives of folks who are depending upon government to be expansive and accurate in this moment. There is no greater time than the present than this. So I think this conversation around, even public, making more provisions for those to go to community college. Not only is my child care more than my mortgage, my student debt is more, we'll have our mortgage paid off before our student debt. I mean, this whole thing is backwards, so we have to continue to fight for that.
That is absolutely ridiculous. I want to get in as many of these calls as I can get in because everybody continues to do that. Roosevelt, what's on your mind today? It's been a while. I thought about you the other day. I'm so glad to hear your voice.
Hello?
Hey, Roosevelt, how you doing, sweetie?
How you doing? Thank you for taking my call.
Of course.
And happy birthday to you.
Hey.
Happy birthday to you.
Hey.
Happy birthday.
Hey.
This is for your dad.
Thank you,
I had
sweetie.
to call today, Santita. I had to call today and wish him a happy birthday.
Thank you, my sweet. Sending you much love.
I know I do.
But you
I
wanted to talk
do
about
it.
this too. You know you have something on your mind,
Okay.
Roosevelt.
Okay, here it is. Paul from Seattle stole my thunder. Corporate welfare. On the one hand, they get subsidies. The oil industry has been getting subsidies for 90 plus years, Santita.
Mm-hmm.
When President Bush was in there, they broke the world record in profits. The world record in profits, yet they got subsidies. And on the other hand, they get tax breaks. And whenever they bring up, like what Paul was saying, they always say that the people are depending on the government. And when they put in, it's their money. It's their money, such as Social Security. That's our money. I just paid 65. So I'm ready to apply for all the stuff that I got coming because I put in. That's my point. Whereas the companies, like the oil industry, corporate welfare, they get so that they could be successful in business. Look at Big Pharma, and I'm going to leave it at that. So, because I know you got a lot of callers. So look at Big Pharma. They get billions of dollars for research that we put in their money, and then they raise the price of drugs.
I mean, by 40 times, Merck is going to do that with this COVID-19 pill. It costs $17 to make. It's going to cost more than $700 to buy. If you do not have insurance, and increasingly police officers and nurses and people in the healthcare space, more and more people are not following the vaccine mandate, and they'd rather quit than fight. They're not. Well, they're going to fight. They're just not going to fight that way. That means they're not going to be able to afford these meds. They're not, because your insurance is tied to your employment. This is not good.
And Santita, speaking of President Biden, he wants to bring in generic drugs from Canada, lower prices, so that the seniors are able to afford it instead of cutting pills in half. And I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to take too much of your time because I know you got a lot of calls.
No, sweetie, I'm just glad to hear your voice. I've missed you. And that birthday rendition, of course, the Stevie Wonder, he has changed the birthday song for everybody. I want to thank you for that, my sweet. Love you, Roosevelt. Robert from Wisconsin. Oh, Lakeisha, that's up your way, State Representative Myers. Robert, what's on your mind today?
Yeah, I want to just follow up on Chappell's point of, where is the fight? They really should be going to West Virginia. The media tells us this is, between moderates and progressives. The reality is in the Senate, this is a 48-2 kind of decision, and we need Biden to apply pressure. Bernie Sanders got more votes in West Virginia in 2016 than Manchin did in 2018.
Absolutely.
But we're constantly told, it's a red district. But if you look at the Quinnipiac poll recently, all of these issues poll incredibly high, even across parties. So I don't know why they're not working, to get a Murkowski or, a Romney or someone from the other side, maybe a Susan Collins, someone to get on board with this. Because even if Manchin goes along, we still have the Kristen Sinema issue. And it just seems overall, Ron Klain, someone said who's advising him. It's Ron Klain. I can't remember if Bruce Reed's in there. Maybe it's time to fire Ron Klain. I mean, he was a corporate lobbyist, and that was a big signal to people when he was picked.
Well, you know
why
what?
isn't this guy delivering? We
Well,
were told
Robert,
how great
maybe it's
he
just
was.
time for him to follow the people. How about that? See,
Yeah, exactly. And
that's
just,
it.
lack of fight on every front for these guys. Why isn't Merrick Garland in that?
But you know what, Robert? I think there is a fight, but it's a fight for the corporations. It's not a fight for the people.
Right.
I don't think this is someone who's been in Washington 50 years. He understands this system. He's a veteran of it, and he has not survived it and thrived in it without being super tough and super bad. Now, this is someone who's been one of the most powerful men in the United States for half a century. He knows how to fight for something.
What Mitch McConnell does.
Yeah.
And he's so smart and calculating about how he does these things, and
they all are, and so is President Biden. But that's why we have to call them all out, because this is not about the Republicans and the Democrats. This is about the corporatists and the rest of us.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sweetie. This is about the corporatists and everybody else. I'm going to get some closing thoughts very quickly, Anita. I hate to do this to you, but I'm up against the clock, but I want to hear what you've got to say. Anita, what's on your mind, sweetie?
Good morning and happy birthday.
To my dad, I'll give it to him. Thank you. Love you, Anita.
I met him 15 years ago, his birthday. Okay, what I wanted to say about the 2-year college, I started college at 16. I was in the Chicago area. And I was afraid to go to the bigger universities because I wasn't driving at the time. And I didn't want to be mixing in with the Chicago crowd from the suburbs, because I was from the suburbs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was young. Okay, I think they should have had that 2-year junior college situation. Years ago, when people had larger families, like my mom, they had 6, 7, 8 children, 9 children, and the people were very motivated. I know in the city of Harvey to go to school, and people would go to the junior college. But it would have been better back then. And now I think they're doing that for the immigrants. So I'm not real excited about it because there's a lot of people that, missed out on that benefit that were Americans whose families had paid into the tax system.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I'm saying?
Well,
and now they're giving it. And I think they're doing that just for the immigrants myself.
Well, you know what? But
that's what I think.
Well, since nobody's indigenous to the United States but the indigenous people, you know what? I don't care who they're doing it for. I think we need to take advantage of it. We need to take advantage of it. We all need education, and we need equal access to equal high quality education. And we need to fight for this bill. Not a penny less than $3.5 trillion, not 1 penny less. And that's what needs to happen. I'm going to get 30 seconds from this magnificent panel that I have had, starting with you, Attorney Robert Patillo. 30 seconds.
I want people to remember to register for the Rainbow Push Coalition Peachtree Street Project conference. Next Thursday and Friday, October 14th and 15th. You can register at creatingopportunityconference.com. That's creatingopportunityconference.com. And don't let the quote-unquote moderate Democrats roll over on you. It is the 8 million people who voted for Joe Biden, or the 80 million people who voted for Joe Biden versus Manchin and Sinema. We cannot let the de facto prime minister of the United States, Joe Manchin, win against the will of the people.
Attorney Erin Connolly, 30 seconds.
Well, I would love to see our friends and organizers make some calls into West Virginia, into Arizona, especially if you live there, into the White House and say, we need to add back some of the $6 trillion that Bernie Sanders originally proposed. Mm-hmm. This deal has already been negotiated. If you don't want to play ball on what you negotiated in good faith, then let's add some things back in. How about we talk about what we already cut and that we can't afford to cut anything else from this plan. Let's see the leadership in Congress, in the Senate, out on Jimmy Fallon, out on John Oliver,
That's right.
out talking about what we have already cut in this negotiation, and that if we cut more, who is going to suffer? We have to put faces to this. So
Absolutely.
Be a part of that solution, make those calls.
State Representative, Wisconsin State Representative Lakeisha Myers, 30 seconds.
This is time for a full court press from the president all the way down. When we talk about looking at our party infrastructure as well, I think they pay for billboards and commercials whenever it's time for us to get out to vote. It's time to do the same thing when it comes to actual policy. I agree with the other panel members that, this is our fight as people because we're the people who are driving this opportunity. We have to build back better. We cannot cut not one more thing. We have to utilize all things at our fingertips, whether it's the telephone, email, sit-ins. We have to go old school, new school. We can do it all. And we can make sure that we get what it is that we came for, and that's this program. We need all of it.
I don't have 30 seconds for my own commissioner, my own self-commissioner, Cook County Commissioner, Brandon Johnson. 15 seconds for you. 9 o'clock, everybody, here on WCPT. Don't miss him. 15 seconds.
Yeah, it's all good. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day, Reconciliation Day on Monday. Continue to organize. This is our fight to win, and I'm very confident that the people will prevail in this moment. Thank you, Santita.
Listen to his show on Sunday at 9 o'clock a.m., just after Keep Up Alive, of course. And then Robert Patillo on WAOK every Sunday from 1 to 4 Eastern Standard Time. Happy birthday, Daddy. I love you so much. And to all the Libras in the house, happy birthday to everybody. God bless you. And hey, call 202-224-3121. Tell all of these representatives not a penny less than $3.5 trillion. It's not what would get cut, it's who would get cut, and that who is you. I love you, everybody. See you on Sunday. See you at Push tomorrow at 9:30 East 50th Street. See you on Sunday on Keep Up Alive, and see you back on the Santita Jackson Show on Monday. God bless. Thank you all so much. I'm sending you much love.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you all are just great. Lakeisha, take care of yourself, okay?
I am. You as well.
Oh, honey, I got you. Because I understand the exhaustion.
I'm going to do this, so Santita. I do this every time. Representative, I need some help on Sunday morning. So, I mean, I know, the Jacksons always need you. So we'd love to have you on one Sunday morning.
I'll send you her information.
Absolutely.
I'll connect you all by text.
Absolutely. Okay, great.
I'll connect you all by text. But I'll see you on Sunday morning, Lakeisha, with Reverend Jackson.
Yes.
Buster Archie's going to be on radio a long time. And I think I'm going to have everybody here. Who else do I have? I have Robert Patillo. I have Aaron. You still there, Aaron? Aaron?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Sunday. Very good. I'm so glad. Thank you. Even though you didn't say yes, but I know you will.
Santita, I would love, of course, I always say yes to you. I also want to mention the immigration rally in Chicago on Tuesday, the 12th at 4 o'clock to stop these deportations. I think you've covered this issue extensively before the mainstream media.
Well, you're the corporate media.
Was happening.
Right.
Yes.
That's right.
It's an important display for us to support our brothers and sisters in the immigrant community and show up in person. So that's at 4 o'clock on Tuesday.
Let's talk about that Monday or Tuesday. Just give me a moment to kind of see where we're going. But we'll definitely do that, even if you just do a quick hit at the top of the 7 o'clock hour, because I really am doing everything that I can to keep the Haitian asylum seeker issue alive. Because they have not, out of all of the people who try to get into the United States, there's an old expression, if you're white, you're all right. If you're yellow, you're mellow. If you're brown, stick around. If you're black, get back. And that applies in an immigration policy. And it has been the Haitians and the Dominicans are put in front of them. And so we gotta, this is not right. This is not right, because we also literally owe Haiti, because they stood with us when we were trying to become free. And they are the second republic in this hemisphere. The second in the hemisphere. The second. So no, we're going to keep on talking about Haiti. And all of the other people. I'm sorry?
Right. I was going to say, I think that's it's an important note to keep lifting that up. Me and Commissioner Naya moved at the county level to create basically attorneys to deal with deportation. But one of the things that we don't talk about enough is that right here in America, this was several years ago now, where I believe like almost 1 in 9 Black folks in America are so-called foreign-born, and that number has increased. So I think, and then of course, to your point earlier, the folks who are disproportionately more likely to be deported, obviously, folks from the diaspora. So, I think it's important as we talk about immigration policy, because just to be honest, I think what the sister was getting at, who called in, and some of the trepidation and fear that people have around immigration policy because they don't see themselves in it. We've limited the discourse around, who are our immigrants, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even if we should use such a term like that, but point is, it's not just brown folks. Let's just be honest. It's not just folks coming from Mexico. There are folks coming from all of the diaspora. They're more likely to be deported. They don't have legal representation. And foreign-born, so-called Black folks, I mean, we're talking about in the next 10 years, that number is only going to increase. It's already, like I said, 1 in 9, and that was almost 8-9 years ago.
Well, I think that's true, but I think that, let's be honest, one of the problems we have is that people come to the United States and they have contempt for Black people, including other Black people. And so they become the exceptional immigrants, and they don't join in the Black fight, and that's a problem. So there's a lot of healing, a lot of revealing, all this stuff that we've got to do together, because the only way we're going to make it is together. It is together. So, Black people from the diaspora, when they come to the United States, they need to get in on the Black American fight, which is rooted in slavery. Period. Got to get in on it. Got to get in on that piece of the fight. Don't tell me I don't know anything about that. When you going to learn? When you get shot, Amadou died. When you get raped in a prison cell in New York with a baton. When you get shot, Amadou. Oh my gosh. And so we have to tell our story and tell the story of the Black person in the United States of America, because that is why you're able to get here. But you need to understand when you're walking down the street, people don't see you come from the diaspora. They see you coming from 63rd Street. And you need to understand what that means for your own health and safety. Oh, Lorraine, I get it. I get it. See, my mother is from the muck of Florida. So she grew up with, her father went back to the West Indies because he felt that the racism in the United States was so untenable. He was not going to be here. But my grandmother's African American. And so I get it. Get it, got it good. At the end of the day, I know that the Black experience in the United States is rooted in slavery, period. Period. And everybody needs to get into that, understand it, and let's come on and let's get with this program. Get with the program and understand that, you too are in it. And if you came in, if you immigrated to the United States, you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. So don't tell me white, black, brown, yellow, or red that you have nothing to do with slavery. No, America was built by the enslaved. And then the immigrants came in a little bit later. But these folks did not, could not, would not work, and they brought us in to do it. Boom, mic drop on that. That's how that works. Was true, is true. Will always be the truth. So that's it. So, we just have to understand that. So, and we must all stick together. All of us, because all of us, whether we got dropped off in the Caribbean, South or Central America, and my grandmother was a migrant worker in all of that back in the 30s and 40s. We were all brought over to, the only people who are indigenous to the Americas are the so-called Indians, the indigenous people. Everybody else was brought over here. Now, Africans did come over. There is historical evidence that shows that, right? But the fact is, everybody came over here on a colonial project, on a European colonial project, everybody. If you were not a king or a queen, you came over here on a colonial project. Yes, even Columbus was working for a queen and he never got to the United States. So everybody came here, working for the crown, getting them some money, okay? Everybody came here on that. That's it. So don't puff yourself up and exalt yourself because you're not special, sugar. You came over here working for somebody else's coin, okay? And on somebody else's crown. The great thing about the United States of America is that we kind of say, you know what, we don't want a crown here. We don't want that. We don't want that. You can visit, but we don't want that. In fact, George Washington said, no, I'm not going to be a king, because that was presented to him. They said, you should be the king of the United States. He said, no, we're coming up with something new. I'm going to be the president. This is a republic, and we're going to stick to that. So come on, everybody, let's get with the program. Let's get with the program. All right. I love you, everybody. Is anybody else still here? I go on my rant about the republic, but I got a real thing about being. No, I got a real thing. I am a citizen, y'all. I am not a subject. Okay. That's a. You are a history teacher. You know what that means.
I do. So, Santita, I introduced a resolution. It was more controversial than I thought it would be, but it ended up provoking this kind of conversation. I introduced a resolution that would have Indigenous Peoples Day, Reconciliation Day, in place of Columbus Day.
Well, can you come on Monday and talk about that?
I will, because it was a very strange sort of development that happened. I mean, I figured there would be some resistance to it, but the idea that you are raising in terms of Reconciliation Day, where, the tip of the spear, we know where that initial, trauma, genocide took place. And then other groups experience, discrimination, right? So we thought it'd be a great day to not only lift up Indigenous people, but also recognize other groups that have experienced harm in the Western Hemisphere. And the pushback was a small, concentrated group, but it was kind of a mansion situation where a small group of folks who want to hold on to that trauma and that past, pretty much force folks to like delay it. So, I think this conversation is healthy because it helps us lead conversations towards what policy needs to be. And yes, as a history teacher, and as we look at folks across the country fight back against critical race theory that was only designed to look at how race played a part in institutions and how it, of course, furthers white supremacy, has caused folks to just like get up in arms about the reality of our country that plays out in the political spaces. So happy to talk about it on Monday. Of course, history teachers and attorneys, I know we love talking about stuff like this. We're the best people to be in charge.
Well, look, let me tell you.
That's right. That's right.
Because State Representative Myers is a teacher too. She likes to rap us on her knuckles.
See there, that's right.
She likes to do that. She likes that. And everybody, we're on Facebook Live. But that having been said, we haven't said anything. I mean, I'll live with it. So the commissioner, all that, because I'm the one who can rant here because I'm a talk show host. Nobody cares what I think. But I mean, being a citizen in a republic is a very, very important thing to me because I know what that means. I know what it means to go to another country and they have a king and a queen and you are answerable to them. That is not the way America is supposed to work. And that's been evolved. We've evolved into that. And I respect that. But it's something that I've got to hold on to. That's why I love Harry and Meghan. I love them in their place. Okay? But I don't want the crown in my political business. They can keep on doing what they're doing. But you can't be a duchess and a duke over here. Yeah, you can't be a duke or a duchess over here or a prince. We don't do that here. Right. We don't do that here. Not here. You do that over yonder, not here. That's great. I'm not that excited. We're all descended from kings and queens. No, we're not. That's not true. And I don't need to be the child of a king or a queen in order to matter. The ultimate king and queen in heaven is my mom and daddy. Okay, so I'm done with that. But just a woman who couldn't read or write was my great grandmama. That I'm a hold to that. That's fine with me. Okay. I'm done with that. I don't need all this purple and royal. And everybody needs to stop with that. Why don't you just start treating people as if they are royalty? Exalt people. Why don't we do that? Okay. Let's try something new. Let's do that. Let's just be nice to people. Be kind to people. And call Congress and let them know 1 penny less. Other than this $3.5 trillion, you will not be satisfied. Don't be satisfied. Because the Pentagon never gives a dime back. And Joe Manchin has voted since 2011, yes, on every extra penny given to the Pentagon. He won't give you an extra dime. He wants to take it from you. And it's not just him. It's the corporate Democrats, all of them. The corporate Republicans, all of them. It's a corporatist move. Corporatist Democrats and Republicans have different cultural appeals. That's the only difference between them. They both stand for corporations, and you need to stand up to them and not let them do this to you and take money out of your pocket and food off your table and food out of your baby's mouth, because that's what they're trying to do. Yeah, maybe I need to put it that way. They're trying to take food out of your baby's mouth. They're trying to deny your child an opportunity to get an education, or you. That ought to get you fired up. And get everybody around you fired up. And while Joe Biden is coming here, and I appreciate the push for America's health, I get it. But honey, I need you to be in West Virginia and Arizona. You need to be putting pressure on them. You don't need to come here and tell me about a shot. Are y'all still there? I mean, come on. What is
We're
this?
still here, Reverend Santita.
No, I just get hot about this. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because you should be talking to State Representative Lakeisha Myers, people on the ground in Milwaukee. You should be there. He should be in Cook County talking to us about this money that's going to get held up. $1 billion of your budget, Brandon, comes from the federal government.
Ali Alexander gets subpoenaed by the House Select Committee. Thank you. Alexander
So,
may
look,
then implicate Andy
that's
Biggs,
my
Mo
cue.
Brooks,
It's time
and
for me to
Paul
go. I will
Gosar
see
in planning
all
the
of you
January
lovely
6th
people on
insurrection.
Sunday.
He's
And
on
of course, I'll be
tape,
sending you texts to that effect.
They helped him with this.
Yesterday.
I love you all.
Oh my God.
See you tomorrow at Rainbow Push.
We just don't know.
Yes, Carol.
Oh my God.
We do.
This has got to be stopped, or this is going to happen again in 2022 and 2024.
Lorraine,
and our
don't do that to
democracy
me.
is,
I'm
I
doing
don't
good with the talk shows.
understand. Okay.
Love you.